Hello my friends and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Well, my friends from Eastern Europe and Central Europe, and if they're a little bit older, let's put it this way, they might know that what I'm saying makes sense. And I'm talking about the, how should I put it, demands that might come from certain countries from other countries' territories. That means, when a country has some claims over some other country's territories. That's happening a lot in Europe, and everything is pushed underneath the carpet. You don't see it, so if you pick up the carpet, you see the dust over there and the dirt. So in this case, we're dealing with Poland, and this article comes from Ukraińska Pravda, so you can imagine friends of Poland. The Russians are not really fond of Poles, and vice versa. But who is friends of whom over there? Ukrainians are the Ukrainians are just how should I put it? Their neighbors are just waiting for Ukraine to collapse so they can claim parts of its territory, probably with the goal of saying, oh, you're losing the war, how about we just take our part of this? Oh, I take part of this, I take part of this, and therefore I'm just protecting those areas from Russian attacks, you know what I mean? So actually they're doing a good thing. They do a service to Ukraine. So this article says that Poland preparing claims for Western Ukrainian lands, Russian intel chief says. You will always find this, how should I put it, popular in that part of the world when you have a country, making claims of another country's lands. If you remember, I made a video, or at least lately, it was the Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, and he wore a scarf around his neck, and over there on that scarf, it was the so-called Great Hungary, or the Greater Hungary, a map with Hungary's territories that it lost after the First World War and then after the Second World War, included in the Greater Hungary, which part of them are Transcarpathia, which is now part of, yes, you guessed it, Ukraine. So it's always, they know it and they're waiting for the right time. Polish President Andrzej Duda has instructed the relevant departments to promptly prepare an official justification for Polish claims to Western Ukrainian lands. Russian Foreign Intelligence Services Director Sergei Narishkin told Sputnik. And I'm quoting, Duda instructed the specialized services to prepare an official justification for Polish claims to Western Ukraine in a short time, end quote. Now, I don't know if you remember this, if you're aware of it. Duda and Zelensky, they signed some little decrees together, some little understandings that gave the Poles certain kind of extra rights within Ukraine. So the Ukrainians have have some population around the border, wherever those territories were, let's say, taken from or given, or how you want to take it. From Poland, you have Poles in Ukraine. By the border with Hungary, you have about 150 or some thousand Hungarians. With the border with Romania, you have Bukovina in the southern part of Moldova that was given to Ukraine. You have a lot of Romanians there. So these areas, they have these minorities over there, and it's very strange that Zelensky gave only Duda, the Poles, special rights within Ukraine. The Poles from Poland, not necessarily the ones from the minorities living in Poland. It was about 2 or 3 months ago, and that's very strange. They didn't give the same rights to the Hungarians. They would like to go invest or live in Ukraine, or to the Romanians, or to the Slovaks, or to the Russians, God forbid, or Belarusian and all that. It's only the Poles. So as I always say, there's no smoke without a fire somewhere. So these guys are saying what they're saying. Probably they're exaggerating, probably they're lying, but what they're saying, the fire is there. It's just how big the fire is, because you can see the smoke. There's smoke. So is this fire right here? The reference point in the ongoing archival research is the Volyn massacre of 1943, with the Polish authorities' belief proved involvement of the organization of the Ukrainian nationalists. Well, that's what probably happens. Of organization of Ukrainian nationalists, Ukrainian insurgent army in the genocide of the Polish people, the official added. So there is a little problem. There supposedly it was a massacre of some Poles by the Ukrainian nationalists in 1943, and if you remember, it was a little scandal that erupted for about 2 days and then it was buried, where it was, I can't remember exactly what they were commemorating or celebrating. The Poles mentioned this massacre, and Zelensky jumped up like he was a defender of Ukrainians all of a sudden. You know, like, hey, why do you say that? But they're not friends. It's just the appearance. It is like, for instance, you know, the so-called friendship between France and Germany, or between France and English people. You make me laugh, you know. All these things are just, you know, is when you have a bigger fish to fry, then you gang together and you attack the other one, and once that is removed, then you say, okay, now it's between you and I. So in this case, remember just General de Gaulle's, every time he was saying these two things, he said, remember two things. First, the Americans don't live in Europe, and the second one, Great Britain is an island. So that means we are here together, they are outsiders. So the same here, that tells you how friendly he was, and he knew what he was talking about. The same here. Ukrainians, they know, however they want to, you know, skirt it and turn it, they know that certain territories are contested by all the countries surrounding Ukraine. All the countries. I don't know if, but I know Poland, that's for sure. I know Russia, goes without saying. I know Romania, and I know Hungary. That's 4 countries surrounding Ukraine have territorial claims, because historically certain lands were taken and given to Soviet Union, not to Ukraine. That's the problem, with the exception of Crimea and the eastern part, Donbass and so on, which was, you know, given, attached to Ukraine, a republic, a socialist republic. That's a different story. Everything else was taken by the Soviet Union, by this of the Soviet Union, grabbed it from all these countries, from Poland, from Romania, and from Hungary, and given to the Soviet Union, and then incorporated into the Ukrainian socialist Soviet whatever of Ukraine. That's how it was, a Soviet, Social Soviet tra-la-la of Ukraine, Socialist Republic of Ukraine. That's how they were all called, like the Soviet Socialist Republic of Moldova. So they're waiting, and if this could be an escape. I mentioned this for some time. If Moldova, let's say, Moldova gets somehow, threatened by Russia with occupation or attack, they always can make a little bit of a union, come back to Romania and claim, okay, now we unified with Romania and be part of Romania overnight. Obviously, the Russians will not agree to that, even though they don't have claims. I don't think they have claims. Stalin, on the other hand, had claims of Moldova to the Carpathians. So the part of Moldova that now is still part of Romania, that Stalin, the Gruzin, the Georgian, claimed that Soviet Union has claims to the Carpathian Mountains. So it's just half that was taken. So he was a gentleman, you know what I mean? And yeah, that's they're waiting for their proper time. And when situation changes and the wind blows from the other direction, make no mistake that each country that I mentioned will just jump and get their knives and carve their part and say, this is mine, it's going to come back to me. Believe me, I think the same thing could be between Germany and France if things go, very, very extreme. Do you think that Germany is happy? I mean, Germany is a special case. I don't think it still has balls, but that's a different story. But Germany was carved like crazy after the Second World War, and after the First World War, let's put it this way. And then that was the problem with the Second World War, part of it, right? They wanted Danzig, they wanted Ruhr and Rhine or whatever from France and all that. They invaded over there, and the French was like, what the fuck are we doing here? And so on. So it was all about territories that you claim, and still the territories are claimed by other states. They all have claims. You owe me that. No, you owe me that. So I believe the Poles have a plan. The Hungarians definitely have a plan. The Romanians don't have a plan because they don't have balls. They are like jackals. You know how a jackal is? With the tail between his legs. That's how the Romanians are, unfortunately. And they're under occupation anyway, so what do you expect? But if you're independent like Hungary, then they try to, what they did with Julius Caesar in the Senate? Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much. The Senate is the European Union, and Julius Caesar, now that it has that authority, is Hungary. They all try to... Anyway, thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.